The change that's needed is going to take culture change from our citizens and from our families. How can we ramp up community education to fix this?
It's the last question.
Last question.
Well, I think just having meetings, I stand up when I talk. I'm used to doing this sort of thing. And I think it's just having meetings like this, just making sure people are aware. I think that it's hard to beat a good statistic. I mean, I understand that. When the last time, I think a couple of years ago, there was a meeting like this, and there were stories about children getting arrested for, I can't remember what the story was, can I tell you? Something about a child missed a lunch, and it was too late at lunch, he was arrested. And a lot of people that I know walked away, so there's no way that's true. Well, at the police department, I went back and checked. I said, you're aware of anything like this? And they all thought, that's ridiculous. There's no way that's true. It came from somewhere. All right, so my point is you can't beat statistics, but you got to get that information out, and it has to be accurate. I used to think that the root of all evil was drugs. I spent 15 years of my career buying and selling drugs and seeing all this stuff, and I know that you're breaking into a building, you're trying to get money for drugs, you're breaking in trying to get drugs, you're on drugs when you break into a building. It all revolves around drugs. As I moved up the chain, I realized that it's not just drugs, it's drugs and family. And that's why I think we mentioned family, and I think Keontae kind of family/poverty, which I agree with is probably more accurate. But we have to hit it from a number of different angles, and not just saying this one thing or that one thing, because otherwise you're going to end up in a place that I work half the time now, in the county jail. And if you look at that place and you try to wonder, where did this go wrong? Where did this come from? And I think if you wanted to pinpoint it, it may be drugs, it may be poverty, it may be family, but somewhere down the line, there was a child that didn't get a second chance, didn't get a third chance, and now he's over there on green 4 or blue 4, waiting for a court date, and he probably won't get out of jail for 10, 15 years. So just keep doing it, a multi-pronged approach, and just keep doing it civilized. I mean, to me, I think that's very valuable.
I'll be brief. I agree. I would say probably half of my time, at least half of my time here in Escambia is community education. I think even tonight counts as community education, and you know, when I'm up preparing documents like this, it's to educate the communities, and we've done Know Your Rights trainings for parents, working with Keontae and ACLU to make sure parents know and understand that, you know, their child has a right to an education, and certain protections are there, but I agree, but there's a balance. I think you have to take it to the community sometimes with education, and sometimes you can't just expect everyone to come to you just because you open up a door. And we're fortunate to have people here. Mrs. Blackman is here. We worked a lot with her and other community members to empower the community with the knowledge. But the knowledge is power, and we have to give it to the community.
I sit in a position where I say you got to do something. Education is great, but if you never use it, if you never help this is our 3rd time doing this. 4th if you count the movie. And to be frank, it's great when Keontae sends out an email from the ACLU or the Escambia Youth Justice Coalition telling you to show up to a school board meeting. But there's nothing keeping you from showing up to the next one and saying, I've spent the last 6 months of my life eating Franco's Italian food and listening to a bunch of folks tell me that we need to make changes. Superintendent, school board, what is your plan to make these changes? Let us not also forget we're in an election year. So we've got stakeholders, policymakers who are up for election right now. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I hope you're asking yourself, and you're going to ask the individuals running for office, what are they going to do? Philosophy is great, but look where philosophy is guiding us. Being tough on crime means we've got too many kids arrested. Being tough on crime means we've got too many kids suspended. And so, while that may be a philosophy, I think people now are saying you got to be smart on crime and you got to be smart on justice. Being tough wasn't the right answer. Now we've got to be smart. And that takes engagement. And so the community you must engage through the election system. You must engage through grassroots organizing, like coming to events like this, but also going to your city council members, your county commissioners, our sheriff is very approachable, like him or not. We've called him and in 48 hours sometimes had a meeting with him. He didn't have to do that. There are sheriffs who it takes months to get in front of. He's not that guy. So like him or not, go talk to them and then say, I'm a citizen, I elected you, what are you gonna do for me, for the children? Because I think you should do X, Y, and Z. And then hold them to it. So that it's not always trying to turn a big ship and taking it really slow. We can look next door. I mean, and I'll give you this as the last statistic. Okaloosa arrested 28 kids, and their out-of-school suspension numbers were less than 1,000. I'm sorry, Santa Rosa, let me get this right. Santa Rosa arrested 34 kids and suspended out of school less than 1,000. Okaloosa arrested 28 kids and they only suspended out of school about 300 or so. That's not because kids weren't acting out. That's because the policy is we don't send them home unsupervised to be home for 10 days without anybody watching them. Escambia arrested 283 children and sent home out of school suspension over 3,000. The difference there is policy. It's not poverty. Crestview has poverty. Milton has poverty. Pensacola has it's not poverty. It's not lack of parents. We've got single family homes because of military. We've got single family homes because of economics. Whatever it is. The difference in all of those are policy. And we must make policymakers do their job.
I remember when I first met Keontae, and I went to my first meeting, and I don't know if Keontae, it's back when we did it over off Carson Drive, and one of the people said, "Well, let's just look at the dark horse in the room, and that's you guys," and pointed right at us, and you're the problem right there. And I'm thinking, okay, what did the sheriff get me into? Wow, okay, I'm the problem. You got to check your ego at the door, and for cops, checking our ego at the door takes a whole room, because of the fact that I explained it to a judge this morning, and I said, this badge that I wear, my brothers and sisters have died for. So it means a tremendous, tremendous source of pride for me. So, including losing one of my brothers a couple of months ago. My thing with it is I checked my ego, and I'm a strong Italian man, I can assure you of that. I raised 6 kids being a strong Italian man. But I listened. She might not have thought I listened. But I went back and I said, what can I do different? And I'll leave you with this. Is my very first day of school this year, I went by our academy, and they, within 5 minutes, very first day of school, this kid told me to F myself. He told me that I better not get in his face or he was going to do this to me. He told me a couple other things. And the only thing he didn't do is assault my mama, because if he would have done that, it'd have been on. But that afternoon, I went out and bought him a bicycle. And I brought it to him. And I said, son, you might not think I care, but I do. You can call me all the names you want. I've heard them before, but I do care. And I left him the bike. And then I checked back every month. And this was one of our ESC students. Do you know he never missed another day of school? Now, was it because of that? It was because of the community. And when we talk about policy change, we also have to talk about, you can truly say you care, but do you really? Are you willing to take that next step? Are you willing to leave your ego at the door and truly affect change? Because I'm going to leave this world better and my SRO unit better than when I found it. And when I can turn that over and I can hold my head up and I can walk out and look at my 6 kids and say, I left this world a better place than when I got in. And that takes a community. It's not our fault. It's not any one person's fault. It's all of our fault. So it takes all of us to fix it.
I personally like to thank everybody that came tonight, because I know y'all have things y'all can be doing. Y'all care about Escambia County. I care about Escambia County. I didn't think February 14th, be 34 years ago I started this job, that I'd be here. Again, I told y'all earlier I got a BS degree in criminology from Florida State, and I figured I'd be federal somewhere. Well, Escambia County is where I grew up at. I mean, so my dad's 92 years old. He's been here his entire adult life. So again, it's people like y'all that's going to make the changes. It's people like y'all that's going to talk to the other parents that we talked about earlier that are not signing these civil citations. And it's people like y'all that's going to cure this problem that we have in Escambia County. So again, I'd like to thank y'all for coming out and spending time with us and everything, because I know that there's no football games on tonight. So, so again, thank y'all.